Your perspective, what's been notable is the federal, of course, now prosecution that seems to be unfolding, and it's a terrorism-related charge.
So the reason for that, in my opinion, is the fact that there's a lot more exposure for Frank James here. That is, he's looking at for this is Title 18 USC 1992, which is a terrorist act on a train or other modes of mass transportation. It carries with it a life sentence, up to a life sentence. That's far greater than he would get for this mass shooting that he did. So I think the decision to go federally on this is much more that of the exposure for the charge.
Ken, we are, of course, a global network, and sometimes federal versus local doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm the daughter of Crown Prosecution Service lawyers in the UK, where most of these sorts of prosecutions are done by the Crown, by the nation. Why? What is the distinction between local law enforcement, local prosecution, federal prosecution, and how do you know which one's going to take charge?
So in this particular case, you saw at the event itself that there was a real enmeshment there between both state, local, and federal law enforcement. NYPD was identified as the lead agency on that case, but there was input from the FBI, from the state police, from ATF, and so law enforcement was all working together. When it comes time to prosecute this case, the district attorney's office works with the U.S. attorney's office to decide which way the case is going to go. But I don't want you to get the impression that they were fighting among one another, but instead the decision was made to go federally because of the potential exposure here.
Of course, we are all innocent before being proven guilty. And it was interesting at the press conference, some label was made of prior, well, criminal acts that occurred back in the 90s in the state of New York, but also the state of, Philadelphia and New Jersey. What will that be made of in court?
So it shows a propensity to do violence, a propensity to do criminal acts. The person's criminal history is always brought into any case. So again, this is just routine that you would discuss for any suspect in a case. You would discuss their prior history, prior criminal history.
We are, of course, a technology show, and what's been interesting and what's been made of in the media and trying to understand who Frank James is and what his motives were is also questioning what his state of mind was, and people looking at YouTube evidence, people looking at his social media posts. How admissible is that in court?
Well, it's part of the public record. That is, he's posted on YouTube. There's no expectation of privacy there, so anything he put onto YouTube would be admissible. But I think this case shows very much that we live in a surveillance society, that there were cameras everywhere. The cameras on that platform failed. But the combination of a quick investigation was able to identify him. His picture was put out, and that was the thing that eventually either got him to call the Crime Stopper number himself, or some individual recognizing him contacted the police. It's not clear which way that actually happened at this moment.